and welcome to another live edition, Conversations Across the Veil. I am Shawn Thompson, psychic medium, spiritual counselor, and owner of Inner Healing. Today, I have two amazing ladies who have offered to do a powerful testimony in working with me, Inner Healing, and I would love to introduce you to them now. We have Sarah and Jan. Why don't you ladies, actually Sarah, why don't you tell us what has been going on with you over the last year? I know that both of you have had a really difficult time in losing somebody very dear to us and our community. So Sarah, can you share with us what's been going on for y'all over the year?
Yes. We lost my dad, Jan's wife, her husband, somewhat suddenly, about just a little over a year ago. He got sick after Christmas, kind of just flu-like symptoms, and we spent a week or so trying to figure that out, thinking that maybe he just had the flu. And when the doctors couldn't figure it out, they told us to go to the emergency room and have a CAT scan. And so we did that, and within an hour he was on a helicopter to Loveland because he had a mass in his brain, which we found out was glioblastoma, brain cancer. And we chose to do surgery, and so we had surgery, and then after about a month, he came back home and was at home for about a month, and then passed away from that.
Yeah, that was such a challenging time for the whole community and for your family as well. I know I was around when he came back from the hospital, so we did have a little visit there. If you don't mind, share with them how we kind of came to know each other, and for both of y'all to allow me into this journey of healing and grieving throughout the past year after his passing.
You know, Gary was a very outgoing individual, and we had started a little wine and cheese group in our cul-de-sac. We had two cul-de-sacs that connected, and we wanted to do that, and that's how we met Shawn. And it was, you know, under real fun circumstances, and we always had a good time. And so after Gary had passed, probably just a couple days, Shawn called me and said, I would like to come and talk to you. Gary wants to talk to you. And the background I have with mediums is I've always been very interested, and I've read a lot of the books that people have written in the you know, not too long ago, and so I was always interested in that, and of course I wanted you to come and tell me. And when she arrived at the door, she had tears running down her face. I remember that totally, and came in and sat down, and the thing that was so amazing to me was that she made the comment that Gary wanted to be sure that I knew that you were the one giving me the message, and that it was from him. And you tried to describe a ring that he had, and I said, I know the ring. I know exactly what you're talking about, didn't I? I said
you did. You absolutely did.
And I had I said, just a minute, I'll get it and I'll show it to you, because it was hard to describe for him, because it was both gold and silver and had stones in it, and it was very hard to describe. But that I knew immediately that it was a real story she was going to share with me, and that he's here with me, and I know that in a lot of different ways, even today. But I think at that time we were in so much shock because he had died very suddenly, totally unexpectedly, and you're just kind of numb. And just hearing your words, of hearing his words from you was so good for my soul. It's very, very, it gives you calm, and you feel like you're not alone, which is a huge deal to me. And I think this pandemic thing, I can tell you, I don't know how I would have survived it, not, being alone all the time, because I don't feel that way now, because I know him, and I know he's with me.
Absolutely.
But it's been just overwhelmingly good for my whole mindset, everything.
Well, I've been so pleased and happy that you have been open to that, and that allowing me to connect and share messages with both of you. I want to back up a little. Did I even tell y'all that I was a medium when I was coming over for community gatherings of wine and cheese and all those goodies?
Yes, I remember the first time we met at the Wine and Cheese. You had just moved here, and I had just moved here. And so my parents actually were doing the wine and cheese for us.
Right, that's right, as a coming together.
Yeah, so we could meet the neighborhood and whatnot. And I remember you saying, just more in passing, that you were a medium. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because it's always been something that I've kind of been interested in. I've never read a lot of books, but I had, not too long before that, started watching some TV shows.
Oh, right. Let me guess. The Long Island Medium?
Yes.
She drives me nuts, by the way.
Well, she's a little different personality than you, but I always found it so interesting how she would tell people or give messages, and I always thought that was so cool. And I just remember you mentioning that, and then the only other thing I really remember was you talking about how it's hard to go into an antique place or to court.
Yes, or hospitals as well. I do get overwhelmed in hospitals.
So
Okay, well, I thought I had mentioned it, but I knew that you knew I had been a counselor for over 21 years. But and sometimes I do, but not all the time, mention that I do mediumship, only because it's kind of taboo at times. People who are raised in the more traditional religious style upbringing don't often or are not often open to that type of communication. And so I would venture to say that you may have not been raised with that understanding, however, you were open to it.
Totally.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, so I love when I can throw that out there sometimes and people remember it, or oftentimes there's a reason why I say it or why we have that connection. And in this situation, there definitely was a reason for that. So back to what you were saying, Jan, so when I had come to you first and said, I have some messages to share with you from Gary, what was your first response in me wanting to share? I mean, I know that you opened your door and you let me in and you just said, tell me. And that wasn't the first time. There's been several times where that has happened, and one I'm going to share with people here shortly. But what was going through your mind when I said I have some messages for you?
Well, I think you made this statement that Gary was just on your case. And
he does that.
I know. That is,
they do that. They move mountains.
that was so real to me, because that's the way he operated, you know, and he wanted me to know that he was with me no matter what, and that's helps your soul more than anything. And just knowing, and as I said before with this pandemic thing, you are alone. You're still alone, but you have it's like you have this little area that is safe or something. It's a different feeling.
Are you saying knowing when they communicate with you and give you messages like that, that's what you're referring to? And I think that's so important, because so many people will say that when you lose a loved one, your heart can't heal. You can't feel good again. There's a part of you that is just devastated forever. And that part is true. I do think that the pain and the missing and the sorrow and the emptiness, that there is a part that will live with you in your heart forever. However, when you do get messages from across the veil in working with a medium, I think that is very much what happens, is that it lets you know that even though they're not physically here, they're with you. You're not alone. You may be physically alone, but you're not alone in spirit. You're not alone mentally, emotionally. They are always trying to connect with you. They find people such as myself to move mountains, to get messages to you, to help you know that you're not alone and that they're always with you. So when I came to the door that day, I remember this specifically because he showed me that ring, and he just kept making me want to make sure that I got that message to you. And then you brought it out, and it was just incredible, the validation. And so
it was to me too.
You know, and I'm sure a lot of people, there are a lot of charlatans out there who want to just make you feel better, want to take your money, want to tell you general things. But when they come through, you know, and it's oftentimes, it's not with specific words or things that you would imagine. I have so many people say, well, you know, he used to say or she used to say a specific word to me. What's that word? And if you don't tell me that word, then you're not real. And it really just doesn't happen that way. No. And the things that they come through with that I would have no clue, that may not mean anything to me, but would be so powerful to the ones that they left behind, is really the validation. So
I have to share one. And this has been probably a year ago, not quite a year ago, but and you had come to and asked to come again and share something with me, but and it was, there were some other things, but one thing that you said was, and it was kind of at the end, you said, you know, there's something I've forgotten. It's, do you know anything about a rain or a spot in your basement or in your crawl space? And I immediately just started laughing, because that was kind of an obsession of his. And you would have had no way of having any realistic, I mean, know that.
No.
And so there, I mean, there is no doubt in my mind, not even for a moment.
Yeah, I remember that day. He was very persistent that I get to the problem, because he was a problem solver. He fixed everything. He was the, you know, do it all around the house. So that was very important. And I want to make a special note here. You see how we're laughing and we're remembering and we're telling stories. This is part of the healing process. You know, there are absolutely a lot of tears, a lot of emotion, a lot of pain in losing someone that you love. But when they come through and they connect, you know, they come through with their sense of humor and their personality, and they rat on you, you know, and they tell stories.
I know that day when you came, you know, we were looking really forward to
having that session with you and seeing, you know, what he had to say. And a lot of what he had to say that particular time was maybe not what we wanted to hear.
I hear that often.
And, you know, it was, but in another way, it was totally my dad, because it would have been exactly what he would have said to us if he was here. But, you know, it was, you know, you need to go out and do things. You need to, you know, put yourself out there. You need to
Let people help.
let people
Let
help
people
you.
help. I think he beat you over the head with that one, didn't he, Jan?
He did. And you know, it's interesting how you can respond. I mean, you know, we loved each other till our dying day, 60 some years.
Wow.
But I was a little irritated.
Yes.
I know you were, because,
I
and I
thought-
had to preface it with, "This is not me, this is your husband speaking."
So, you know, easy for you to say.
Yeah, but they say, like, they're, you know, they don't always come to, you don't always come to tell us, you know, the good things or whatever, but
He was just trying to urge me on, you know.
but
because-
at that time, that's what we needed to hear.
Well, that's a
You
very
know.
important point, because one of the biggest things that they want you to know from the other side is you're still living. You still have a life to live. And yes, you're human, and it's going to be hard. And moving on and moving forward doesn't mean that you forget them. It means that you learn to live without them physically here, but they are by your side. And they desperately want you to know that. And they send people to you. They help you in many ways. They are still being a part of your life across the veil, and it's usually not communicated other than through a medium. And so, and I've been a medium for, I don't know, probably about 15 years. I went the more traditional route as a licensed counselor, and I've worked with hundreds of people through grief therapy and all sorts of different struggles. But I can tell you one thing, that until I started combining my mediumship skills with my counseling skills and helping people truly heal their heart and move forward, I've never seen the progress that this combination has made, because there's something to say about counseling and going through the grieving and recovery process. But when you can actually connect with the person that you lost, and have questions answered, and have messages delivered that I would have no way of knowing, that are very personal, heart-centered, and then have them put a fire under your ass and say, you need to let someone help you, or you need to check your, you know, your basement. When you bring all of that together, there seems to be a little bit more of a connectedness, a lightness, a lifting, a relief that you just can't get in just traditional counseling, with no added supplementation of being able to connect with those who passed.
You know what I have found, and again, everyone gives you 10,000 books to read on grief.
Yes.
And I made the decision after the first 20,000 that I was not going to read anything unless it was by a counselor, someone who that was their job,
Right.
not somebody who, but also who had gone through it, and that has helped me. But I do know that you can't tell how long it's going to take,
No.
and I don't think you ever get over it. But you heal.
Absolutely.
heal.
You hit it right on the head, Jan.
There's a card over there that was sent to me, and I love that card.
Can I read it out loud?
Sure.
It takes as long as it takes. Be gentle on yourself.
And you know, you can't know how, I mean, it'll hit you. when you
Everybody is
listen.
different. It
It'll
hits
be
in
so
waves.
stupid.
I will tell you, one thing that is pretty consistent, though, is that the first year is the hardest. And I think variations of who you lose can be different
sure.
too, as opposed to, you know, a husband or a wife, a child, a friend, a family member, a pet. They all take you through the grieving process, and they're all different. And every loss that everybody has, even the loss of a business, which I'm going to share something about Gary and my business here in a minute. Even the loss of something like a business can take you through waves of emotions where one day you're strong, one day you're an absolute mess. But you know what's interesting, which this is the story, the standout moment that I would love to share with everybody, is they always deliver, and they always deliver at the right time. So I want to...
Interesting.
Yes, it is. So I want to share, if y'all can see this little heart, it's a magnet. Now, tell me about this magnet, Sarah.
Well, we decided to have a picnic for my dad. For remembrance, because we knew that he would have liked it. It was kind of his thing, you know, get everybody together for wine and cheese, get everybody together for a picnic.
He wanted to help the people who helped him in the hospital so much.
Yeah, and he had told us when he was in rehab and whatever that he wanted to have a party for people, all the people that had helped him. So we decided to do this picnic, and his grandkids decided to make these magnets, and it's just a little piece of wood, like off of a tree, and then they painted little things on them that reminded them of their grandpa. So, you know.
So I went to the picnic, and they had an amazing turnout, beautiful pictures, collages, wonderful goodies and treats, and a lot of people who just absolutely loved him and your family as a whole. And I saw this basket of all these magnets. So I picked this one. It has a little heart on it, and I said, I'm going to take this one. Well, fast forward, I owned a wine, cheese, and charcuterie venue that recently closed due to COVID, and I had this little heart on my refrigerator there. And the last day that I was closing up, I looked up and I saw the heart and I grabbed it. And the minute that I grabbed it, I just felt this electricity go through me, and Gary was just like, you got this. You know, just move onward, and this is what we do. You're going to be okay. So I'm rounding the corner because we live by each other, and all these tears start coming, you know, and he's like, you're fine, you're going to be okay, go talk to my wife. And I'm like, okay, as soon as, and all he said was, you need to go talk to Jan. And, you know, I was busy, I was overwhelmed, I had my Jeep loaded, and I said, okay, I'll get to it. And it was a Sunday, and I was hoping she'd be out in the yard, but she wasn't, and so I went home, and I didn't come and knock on her door that day. The next day, I got up, and I heard, you need to go walk the lake. So I went for my walk, and he popped in for whatever reason, and I was like, Gary, you know, I need your help here. And I have these conversations regularly with people who have passed, and so that's not unusual for me. And as a counselor, I'm able to diagnose myself as a little bit crazy. And so anyway, I said, Gary, I need your help here. I really need you to help me or connect me with people who have lost someone in their life, who are having trouble reinvesting back in their life, healing their heart, not feeling as though their loved ones around me. I need you to help me bring people to my program, which is a 90-day program. It's called Words Left Unspoken, Healing the Heart Through Compassion, Love, and Understanding. I need you to help connect me with people who would be healed by this program. And he said, done. And that was the end of conversation. So I'm walking around, and the lake is a 4-mile walk, by the way. I round the corner, and I hear, that's my wife up there, go talk to her now. And I'm like, oh no, that's not her. And there's 3 ladies at this restaurant having lunch outside, and I couldn't see their faces because of because I'm short, and the railing was covering their faces. And I must have heard it 5 times. And he said, yell her name out, yell her name out. And so I'm like, Jan, Jan, Jan. And the lady cleaning the tables was looking at me like, okay, we got a crazy one down here, you know. And she would not look at me. And so I thought, that's not her. And he goes, oh my gosh, yes it is. Crawl through the fence and go up there. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to crawl through the fence and go up there. So anyway, I did, because I listened to Spirit, and when they hound you, they hound you. And when you're a messenger, you're a messenger. So I crawled through the fence, and I'm like, Jan! And she finally looked down, and she said, oh, hi, Sean. And she was with 2 ladies. And I thought to myself, oh, goodness, you know, I'm going to interrupt, but I have to get this message to you, Jan. Are you doing okay? I have to tell you about Gary and the heart, and you're going to be okay, and he's here. And she said, thank you. I really needed to hear that today. Now, don't tell him why you needed to hear that day yet, okay? But I want to ask you, so when I did that, what was going through your head, Jan?
No, I was thinking the 2 women that I was sitting with both had lost their husbands. One many, many, many years ago, and the other one just a year before Gary. And I thought, these 2 people need you.
Gary at work, by the way.
Yeah. So it's interesting how, these things happen. It's just, if you don't believe, I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it.
Well, so I continued walking, and I heard him again. Can you text Sarah? Which, and I said, okay. So I text Sarah, and I said, what is going on? Is today something special? Anniversary, birthday, death day? What is it? Because your dad is front and center and will not leave me alone. Put me right in front of your mom, because I said I would talk to her yesterday and I didn't. And so tell me what you texted me when I said what's going on.
Oh, I said it's the 1-year anniversary of his picnic.
Which is where I got this. Yeah, absolutely. So that was one of my standout moments with Gary, and how they work from across the veil, not only in delivering messages, but making sure that I'm doing my job, bringing in the whole synchronistic loop of timing of things, when you get things, who you talk to, why you have to say certain things. That was a really powerful moment for me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Totally him.
Yeah, totally him. Well, Jan, tell me, what are some of the benefits that you've gained in working with me, connecting with Gary, going through the grieving process?
It just heals your soul. It helps your heart so much just to know and really know, that he's there for you. I have his picture, sitting in the bedroom, and I talk to it all the time. And it always gets back to me some way, whether it be a little robin that's hopping along outside, because we had this thing about robins. It helps you just to be able to deal with all the stresses of your life that go on, all the things you have to go through when you're a widow for the first time. You have lots of details you have to deal with, and all of this is it's a very calming, I'd say, as much as anything. So that you can kind of keep going with your life. You're not just hysterical. I just think it's providence in my case. Totally.
How about you, Sarah?
I'd say it's definitely comforting. Just to be able to know that he's around, for you to be able to share those messages, to even just explain the grieving process, and how it does come in waves, and you'll be fine for a while and then you won't, and it could be something completely trivial, and also just making you aware of, you know, not every message comes through you. You know,
That's
I mean,
so
it can
true.
just be different things that will happen, or you know, I mean, there's even been times lately where, like, I've done something and I'm like, whoa, that was totally my dad. You know, or my brother looks exactly like my dad, has the same mannerisms, and
It's a new awareness.
since the pandemic,
absolutely.
like, we've been doing this Zoom thing with all the family, and even my kids will be like, whoa, you know, there was Grandpa right there, did you see it, you know, and but you know that's him coming through that person, even, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share some information about a course I teach that actually helps you learn to recognize the signs and symbols for you to connect with loved ones like you're talking about. It doesn't always have to be with a medium. It can be through robins, like you said, butterflies, pennies, words, songs, smells, all those kind of things that they try to put in front of you to get the word across. So, well, great. So I have to ask you, I've talked to you and you've worked with me on my program, Words Left Unspoken, 90 Days to Healing Your Heart Through Compassion, Love, and Understanding. Would you recommend this program to someone who has lost a loved one?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's been so beneficial.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
seen the transformation, like I said, as a complement and addition to just traditional counseling. And so you can hear from these two amazing and courageous ladies that it's not all gloom and doom. There are some there's some humor, some laughter,
some laughs. Yes, we do.
some moments, but it's kind of
It's
all of
healing.
those ingredients are what make the process just a little bit more breathable, you know, in this situation. So, well, that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap things up?
How about Hannah?
Your daughter.
Yeah. My daughter, my oldest daughter, was having some trouble dealing with the death of her grandpa. She was very close to him, and she wasn't home when he passed.
Right.
And
She was at college?
yeah, college, and wasn't able to attend the first funeral we had, but she was able to be at the picnic. But at that time, that was the right decision for her not to be here. But then when she came home for the summer, I think she had kind of just held it all in until she got to the safe place. And so she was struggling with grief and some, feeling bad that she wasn't here.
A lot of guilt. goes
Guilt,
with that.
yeah, and that even though she knew it wasn't right, it still was a feeling that she was going through. And so I had her meet with Sean, actually both of my girls and myself, and we sat outside by the fire and had a nice conversation. And it was funny because when I had texted Sean and said, maybe you could meet with Hannah, and she said, oh my gosh, your dad has just been talking to me, you need to come over like as soon as you can, and was talking to her about a specific stuffed animal, a lamb, and there would have been no way of Sean knowing that Hannah had this lamb that she loved and slept with every night and whatever, and it was in the attic. And I had forgotten about it. And I actually said to Hannah, Grandpa keeps talking to Sean about this lamb, and she was like, oh, it's Lammy. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, and we have since dug Lammy out of the attic. And but it was very good for you and for them to come and hear those messages from their grandpa.
Yeah.
and took a lot of
Absolutely.
anxiety away and that sort of thing.
She
So,
did. She just really, it really helped her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That warms my heart. This is why I do what I do. It's priceless. I love helping and assisting and delivering message and healing that part of the heart that only your loved one who has passed can fill. Nothing else can fill that void. And so I really appreciate you being so open and candid and sharing with everyone your experience. And if you're struggling with the grief or the guilt or the loss of a loved one, I have several different options where, whether it's an individual session where we connect, I'll be offering a 4-week mini-series where I absolutely and indefinitely teach you how to connect with a loved one who's passed, even a pet. They're usually the first ones that come through, believe it or not. As well as my 90-day transformational program called Words Left Unspoken, Healing the Heart Through Compassion, Love, and Understanding. I'm sure that if you're struggling with anything like this, that I can find a way to help you. But what I need you to do is just schedule a breakthrough call with me. I offer a 45-minute free breakthrough call where we talk about what's going on in your life and see what kind of program we can put together for you. If you'll just schedule that call and let's see what's going on, I'm sure that we can help. I can help in some capacity, just like I've helped these ladies and your whole family and many more before and after. So just want to get that message out to everybody. Well, thank you, ladies, again. I really love you, adore you, appreciate your connection.
Likewise, I'm sure.
Yeah, so, and thank you guys for listening. Take care.